This video is brought to you by Ontario Agri-Food Education and Grain Farmers of Ontario. This video has been developed to provide you with the facts about the food versus fuel debate. The goal is not to persuade you to think one way or the other, but to encourage you to look at both sides of any topic and to base your choices and beliefs on facts. There are many ways to grow food. Decisions can be based on economics, the environment, or personal beliefs. Key facts to remember are that the majority of farms in Canada are still family owned and operated, and Canadian food is safe and nutritious.
You can make renewable energy out of wind, you can make it out of solar. Well, this is actually another means of making it out of solar, taking sunshine, using these corn leaves here, making sugar in there, taking this, converting it into ethanol, fuel ethanol, and using this for biofuels. Everybody thinks they know what corn is, but it turns out very few people really understand what corn is. So when people talk about corn, consumers, this is what they're thinking about, which is sweet corn. Genetically, it's very similar to the field corn, except it has one crucial difference. This corn won't make starch. Sweet corn is a relatively small percentage of the corn that we grow in the world and here in Ontario. And almost all of the corn we grow in Ontario it's called field corn. No one in North America eats that. We use it for all kinds of different purposes. We use it to make corn flakes. We use it to all kinds of prepared foods. We make starch out of it. We make sugar out of it. We make oil out of it. We feed livestock out of it. It's a very important crop. It's the world's largest grain crop, larger than wheat and rice. Over the years in Canada and the United States, we've done such a good job of growing this that for most of the last few years we've grown way more than we need. And we've had surplus supplies, we've had subsidies to help deal with those surpluses. As farmers, we've looked for opportunities. Is there some other things that we can do with crops, with this crop, other than just food? And one of our problems is we continue to grow more and more of this, but the demand for food in the developed world, including Canada, is leveling off. Well, we've looked around and we realize that agriculture crops are used for a lot more than food and food ingredients. Take cotton, which is a major crop around the world. Some of that is used to make food and oil and so on, but it's mostly used to make clothing, fibers and things like that out of. Take flax. Flax is a major crop in Canada, especially Western Canada. And we use the oil from that for all kinds of industrial uses. And at the meantime, we discovered that the rest of the society was being concerned about the price of oil. And we have something like this that's totally renewable. We grow it every year. We've been doing it for 1,500 years, and we can continue to do that. Our productivity goes up, get better and better genetics. The yields per acre continue to go up. And so quite a number of years ago, we said, well, why don't we explore making renewable fuels out of this?
Ethanol is an alcohol, and it's produced essentially by fermenting sugars, and it can be manufactured in a variety of ways. In South America, for example, where cane sugar is plentiful, it's manufactured by fermenting sugars from cane. In other parts of the world, like Canada and the United States, it's largely manufactured for corn. Corn contains a great deal of starch. Starch is made of many sugar molecules all linked together, and those molecules can be broken down and sugar is produced, and then that sugar is fermented into ethanol in this case, and ethanol is a fuel source. The ethanol that's produced and blended into gasoline will result in roughly a 60% greenhouse gas emissions reduction as compared to conventional gasolines in automobiles.
And now it turns out that we can have about a 2-to-1 energy efficiency on this. For every single unit of energy we put in this for fuel to drive tractors and make fertilizer and so on of that, we get 2 units of energy back in ethanol. And that can be used in a substantial way to augment gasoline supply. There's been some suggestion we shouldn't be making ethanol out of this. We should be producing food or using this, shipping it to the third world, lowering the price of grain.
The food versus fuel debate largely centers around increased demand for an agricultural product, in this case corn. Increased demand means generally increased pricing, and that increased pricing flows through into food. Yes, the corn prices have gone up, demand has gone up. People also have to realize that agronomy and agricultural sciences have had a tremendous impact on the amount of corn we do produce. Some people say that it takes more energy to produce ethanol than it actually contains. People have to realize that it's an evolving industry. It's a fairly new industry. When I'm asked about that, I usually pull my cell phone out and I say, what did your cell phone look like 10 years ago, and what could it do? The ethanol industry is not dissimilar. So over the last 10 years, there have been tremendous gains in efficiencies of ethanol and ethanol production. Tremendous improvements in environmental impact, tremendous improvements in yield. So it's really hard for me to agree with that argument. This industry adds value to the ag sector. 10 years ago or so, the ag sector wasn't making money. Farmers needed to be subsidized by the federal government. They were losing money, and I think it's very important that in our supply chain that all elements of that supply chain are profitable, because we need them to stay in business. And ethanol has done that. It's created values for farmers, and I think that's vital.
It also has had the benefit of raising the price of grain. Well, that's been a good thing for farmers. It means that we don't have to have as much government subsidy to try and keep farmers in business. Ethanol, in addition to gasoline, lowers the price. We may think the price of gasoline is quite high, but there have been some pretty credible studies that have been done, especially in the United States, but they're applicable to us as well, showing that if it wasn't for that added supply that's coming from ethanol going into gasoline, the price of gasoline would be considerably higher than it is right at the moment.
There is a myriad of issues that impact food prices. If you look at what's known as the food price index, which is generally the average family's grocery cart every week, the impact of corn-based ethanol production and higher corn costs in that grocery cart is minimal.
And we've estimated, even at the worst, back in 2008, when we had a really high price spike caused by weather problems, the average Canadian family probably paid, or might have paid, about $50 extra a year for food because of ethanol. But we also have calculated that they saved about $150 a year extra because of the lower price of gasoline.
In the last quarter century or so, developing countries, third world countries, have come to depend upon imports of agricultural commodities and food from developed countries. As a result of that, agricultural practices in those developing countries has diminished drastically. So we have to think about what we're doing when we are exporting our products to these countries, as opposed to helping them develop these agricultural practices and feed themselves.
Down the road, where did this thing go? It turns out we're probably about as high a level as we're going to go on ethanol production from corn. We're looking at other things that we can make out of corn, soybeans, agriculture products as well. So we think it's really important to continue to do this. We just think that it's a win-win for the environment, it's a win for farmers, it's a win for rural economy.
I think it's great for farmers, it's great for the environment, it creates growth, it helps drive the economy. It's really hard for me to find something that's wrong with it, to be honest with you.